Roaring Moon EX has finally found its footing in the Pokemon TCG metagame. It's gotten 2 top 8 finishes over the most recent Knoxville Regional Championship, and is all thanks to the inclusion of Galarian Moltres V. It is one of the key cards to this deck strategy, and it's actually getting lost with the rotation coming up in April, along with Battle VIP Pass and a couple of other key cards. Today we're going to take a look and see if Roaring Moon EX can survive the 2024 Standard Rotation. Just want to give a quick thank you to the sponsor of the channel, PTCGL Store. If you need codes, you know where to go. Head over to PTCGOstore.com and use code HITMON to get 5% off your order. You get a good product for a good price, and you help out the channel as well. So thank you to the sponsor for supporting me, and thanks to you for supporting me too. And now, we'll get right back into the video. What is going on, everybody? Hitmonchan here, back again with another Pokemon trading card game post-rotation video. Today, we're taking a look at Roaring Moon EX. It was a much requested video, and I'm very excited to take a look at Roaring Moon today, going forward into the next format. You know, Roaring Moon is doing really well right now, and that's all because of Galarian Moltres V being able to use its ability, being able to use Energy Switch to move some energies around, but that card gets lost with rotation. So I want to take a look at some alternate ways to play Roaring Moon EX and see if it's actually going to be viable going forward. We're going to look at the top placing Roaring Moon EX deck lists today, as well as give some insight into the strategy and analyze them a little bit, and then we are going to finally look at a post-rotation list. So stick along for the ride. We're gonna just hop right into it here. Before we actually go ahead and start looking at lists, I want to just establish rotation. It happens every year or so in the Pokemon TCG, and you lose 5 of the most of the oldest sets. In our case, it's going to be everything E block. So if you look at the bottom left corner of your Pokemon card, you see a little E there. That card is not going to be able to be used starting from April 5th, 2024. There's a lot of key cards that we are losing in those sets. First, let's go ahead and look at some Roaring Moon EX deck lists. We just went over, what cards we lose, and here's the specific ones that Roaring Moon is going to be getting hurt by the most. So this is the 7th place Charlotte list from Ross Cawthon. This is kind of the new way to play Roaring Moon, and it really heavily revolves around that Galarian Moltres V. You can see there's 2 copies of them in the list. That card is getting completely axed when the rotation hits. Some other key cards are Battle VIP Pass. I think, honestly, this is the deck that gets hurt by losing VIP Pass the most. It gets insanely punished, and it's going to be really hard to establish a big board on turn 1 without Battle VIP Pass in this deck. And now Escape Rope is another key card that we lose. A lot of decks lose Escape Rope, but being able to force something up from the bench and take a KO on a 2-prize your opponent might not want you to is a really strong aspect of this deck. So losing that is another option that's gone as well, but you can see most of the cards here remain. Mew, Morpeko, Squawkabilly, Radiant Greninja, all the supporters are the same. Energy Switch is still around, but with Galarian Moltres, is it really that good? We'll have to kind of look and see. So this is kind of what Ross Cawthon's list looks like, and we'll take a look at another list really quickly. This is Julio Santos de Leon's list from Charlotte as well. I wanted to focus on the Charlotte lists specifically because I think they offer some insight into the very different ways that we can play. This one has the Moltres in here, but it's actually more so focused on going turbo with Professor Sada's. Ross Cawthon's list only played 2. This one plays Professor Sada's Vitality, 4 copies of them, and it also plays the Cross Switcher, which is another card that we lose with rotation, allowing you to boss up on an item card, and just getting that out of here. You can't use Canceling Cologne as easily anymore with the Water Energies, Radiant Greninja, and the Energy Switch. This deck has a lot going on, but it really is powerful when you consider, you can go, Professor Sada 2 Water Energies onto a Roaring Moon, and then double Energy Switch, attach for turn a Radiant Greninja to deal with some 2-prize threats. Couple that with a Cross Switcher Cologne because you have 4 Pokestop in here. This deck is really aggressive and it moves really fast, and I personally think that this is going to be how a lot of Roaring Moon lists move forward towards. You don't necessarily have the extra time to build up energy with Galarian Moltres V because, you don't have it in the format anymore. So I think a lot of the lists going forward are going to move more towards this Roaring Moon list with some extra new technology that was kind of discovered over the past regional championships. For some replacement cards, I think it's actually very simple. We have Nest Ball to replace our Battle VIP Pass. I mean, it seems like a no-brainer, right? But, when you consider Nest Ball only gets 1 Pokemon, Battle VIP Pass gets 2, that can be really crucial because you need 2 Battle VIP Passes to set up your full board, basically. But you're going to need, like, all 4 Nest Ball, or 4 Nest Ball and Ultra Ball, whatever, a combination of them, which can be really tough. So I can also see an argument for potentially including a Master Ball in here just so you can have more Pokemon search. Even something like Capturing Aroma, I could see have a home in this deck as well. Another card I think it's important to consider is actually Lumineon V. Now, you saw the most recent list that we just looked at. It did play Lumineon V, and I think that it's really important to consider the benefits of it. One is you can use Forest Seal Stone. Two is you can use Luminous Sign to fetch out any supporter, and that can give you the energy support you need through Professor Sada's Vitality. And when you look at the function of Moltres is to offer that Forest Seal Stone target, as well as accumulate energy on the bench very easily thanks to its Dire Flame Wings ability. Lumineon can kind of fulfill a similar role if you bench it to find Sada and then attach a Forest Seal Stone to it. So I think Lumineon will become a mainstay of a lot of Roaring Moon EX decks. And the last card I want to talk about here is Prime Catcher, everybody's favorite card that is coming out. It's an A-spec, it is a Guzma or Cross Switcher on one card, an item card. Whatever way you want to look at it, basically the same thing. It lets you switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with their active, but you have to switch your active with your bench. Roaring Moon plays 2 free Retreaters in Morpeko and in Mew, so using Prime Catcher to your benefit is going to be really, really strong. And another replacement card I wanted to talk about really quick is the new Baby Roaring Moon. This could be a really good single prize attacker because it can very easily deal with threats in the late game. You can accumulate damage up to over 100 damage for only 2 energy on a single prize, 140 HP Pokemon, which is really important to note. So without further ado, let's take a look at the list I've cooked up, my post-rotation Roaring Moon list. You might look at this and say it doesn't really have anything different going on. It's kind of a standard Roaring Moon list, but I want to talk about it a little bit. So we have the 4 Roaring Moon and we have the Lumineon. Like I said, I think Lumineon is going to be very, very important to include in this upcoming format, just so you can very easily find your so you can very easily find your supporters. We don't have that many in this list. And also Spiritomb, I have a big feeling is going to see a downtick in play because Mew is going to be rotating out. Spiritomb's still going to be in the format, and people I don't think are going to be playing Spiritomb as much. Still one more Peko, Squawkabilly, Radiant Greninja, Mew EX. That's it for our Pokemon. I did opt to, or I was thinking, I should say, of including Pidgeot V as a Forest Seal Stone target, but I found that Lumineon V was just a little bit more useful, especially because we still have 4 Ultra Ball anyway. Now, in terms of our supporters, we're rocking 4 Professor Sada's Vitality, 1 Iono, and 1 Research. That's it, and you're going to notice that I opted not to include a boss. I'll comment on that later, but basically I think in the early turns you really want to Professor Sada's every turn for like 2 to 3 turns, then use Iono or Research to get you out of a pinch. I think that's kind of the best way to go about things here, because powering up Roaring Moon is going to be a challenge without Moltres. Moltres is basically a get out of jail free card. You can use Moltres and Energy Switch, whereas with Roaring Moon you have to use Sada and then Energy Switch, or Dark Patch and then Energy Switch. It becomes a lot more difficult to use these items than just have a Pokemon sitting on the bench. In terms of the items, we got a whack of them in here. We have 4 Nuzlocke and 4 Ultra Ball for our Pokemon Search, as well as 4 Dark Patch and 4 Energy Switch, which is pretty standard. Now, we have 3 Trekking Shoes in here, and that's to help us draw some cards. I think this deck is really going to suffer with drawing cards. I think drawing cards is going to be a really big challenge for this deck, because I mean, that is its biggest enemy right now, is drawing cards, drawing through Ionos, drawing through Paths, but Path of the Peak does leave the format. So I think that Disruption is going to become a little bit of a less viable strategy going forward in the game. You're still going to be able to get Iono'd, but it's not like you can get Iono Pathed or Roxanne Pathed by Giratina, for example, or by Mew. Mew's going to be gone anyway, or by Arceus. The removal of Path means Radiant Greninja stays online, it means Mew EX stays online, it means Lumineon V stays online. So having raw supporter, just a bunch of them, is not going to be as important anymore. So I think 4 Sada, 1 Iono, 1 Research is going to be completely fine, as well as the 1 Pal Pad, and then you have those 3 Trekking Shoes to draw through your deck. We only have 2 Earthen Vessel in here, and the reason I only want to play 2 Earthen Vessel is because, you know, you need to make room for these other cards. If you think about it, Trekking Shoes, digging through your deck to find cards you need. As soon as you find an energy, you just chuck it and draw an extra card. You could go for an additional Earthen Vessel and 1 less energy, but I'll comment on that in a little bit. For our Switch cards, we got 2 Switch card, and that's it. You know, no evolution Pokemon in here, so Switch card is just the best switching card. And we do have the Pal Pad to recycle those supporters, like I said, so you can Iono twice in a game, Research twice in a game, or Sada 6 times in a game if you really, really wanted to. Pal Pad, very, very good in Roaring Moon. And we also have the Prime Catcher here. Prime Catcher is going to be our primary boss option, because I think being able to have a guaranteed boss, not on a coin flip, is going to be really, really strong, because you can Prime Catcher up something, retreat with the Mew, and boom, use Roaring Moon after doing a Sada, for example. So I think that's going to be very important to have. And you'll notice that I omitted talking about a certain card. I said coin flip, and you're like, why would I boss on a coin flip? That's because we're including 3 Pokemon Catcher here. This is one of the newer revelations from the past few regional championships. A lot of Roaring Moon players are opting to play Pokemon Catcher, flip a coin, if heads, boss something up, if tails, it does nothing. That's what the card reads. And it actually actually works really well in this deck because you can Pokestop, which is our optimal stadium. We were playing 4 of them in this list. You can Pokestop for a bunch of these Pokemon catchers and just continuously use them. Chances are you're going to get lucky at least one time, which really one time is usually all it takes with Roaring Moon. And then you're going to be able to boss something up on an item after using Sada, after using Iono, or after using Research. For the rest of the stack, it's actually quite straightforward. We have 2 Ancient Booster Energy Capsules. I think that having a very high HP is going to be really strong in the in the upcoming format. We're seeing Artina get a lot of play in Japan, and you can survive an Tina with an Ancient Booster Energy Capsule on you, so even stuff like Charizard, being able to survive getting hit by a Charmander and getting knocked out is really, really strong as well. And Emergency Jelly is also really good for that. That card is in Silver Tempest, so it does stay in the format, and it's basically going to let you heal right after a Frenzied Gouging, put you down to like 80 HP remaining. And another really cool play you can do with that combo is after you Emergency Jelly, it gets discarded. So you have 80 HP remaining on your Roaring Moon, and if it doesn't get knocked out, you can Ancient Booster Energy Capsule right back onto it, and then Frenzied Gouging again, and basically get 2 free one-hit knockouts without KOing your Roaring Moon. So I think a very important card to include in this deck. You could try and go for a second Emergency Jelly as well. I can absolutely see that being an option. And then our last card we got to talk about is the Forest Seal Stone. Just one of them because we only are going to play one Lumineon V. Play Lumineon, play your Forest Seal Stone, and then that's kind of another get out of jail free card, if you will. As I said, for a Pokestop, and then we're running a simple 9 basic dark energies here. Now, because we're going more for the energy switch Sada classic Roaring Moon build with the Pokemon Catcher new sauce, you could add some water energies in here to use Radiant Greninja, but I found that a pretty optimal way to play matchups where you need Radiant Greninja is you actually just energy switch to Mew EX, and then Pokemon Catcher, or in this case Prime Catcher, up their Radiant Greninja, and then use it to KO some stuff. Now that play's going to be a lot less strong, because it's only going to be really good against Chen Pao, and maybe against Palkia Goldengo, because decks like Gardevoir are basically falling off the map completely when it comes to that kind of thing, unless you're playing against something like Raging Bolt that has Gardevoir in it. That's going to be kind of a limited play that you can do, but being able to utilize and leverage Mew EX's genome hacking is going to be really strong against Giratina, as it always is, or like Arctina, or even it could be really strong against Raging Bolt itself, because you can discard your energies from anywhere and then put them back on the board with Sada or Dark Patch or whatever. So Mew EX could be another really strong finisher in that matchup. Other than that, that is my list. Some cards I want to talk about that I didn't include, for example, are the Baby Roaring Moon single prize one coming out next set. I didn't include it because I actually don't think it's a really strong attacker in this deck. If you look at how many ancient cards we have 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 ancient cards. Now, if all 4 Roaring Moon, all 4 Sada, and both Energy Vessel are in the discard pile, as well as both Booster Energy Capsule, you're like only 2-shotting stuff. You're rarely one-shotting like anything unless it's like a Rotom V. So I don't really think that card has its place in this Roaring Moon deck. However, there is that Dino box that people are playing that has the new Koraidon single prize that I think has a lot of potential with that Baby Roaring Moon, and Roaring Moon EX can be played in that deck for sure, but I just don't think right now that you're going to want to play that Baby Roaring Moon in here. Morpeko is a way more efficient attacker for the circumstance. Energizer Wheel's really good, and because you just move the energy right back off of it. And that's kind of where we are at right now. You could also go and play 8 Dark Energy with 3 Earthen Vessel. I think a 3rd Earthen Vessel can be really strong in here, because if you think about it, it acts as another way to get Dark Energy. And we're playing the 4 Dark Patch, we're playing the 4 E-Switch, we're playing the 4 Sada, so getting your energy into play from the discard pile is pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Let's say you're playing 8 energy and you prize 2 of them, for example. You still have 6 to work with, plus the Earthen Vessels to find them, and you can recycle them with Sada, Dark Patch, and Energy Switch pretty effectively. So that's kind of the reasoning for the energy count vessel split right there. And with all said and done, thank you so much for watching. This is my Roaring Moon list that I'm going to be experimenting with for post-rotation. I think that there's a lot of good ideas in here, and maybe you do still want to play the list, like Ross Coughlin, with the heavier research, Judge, Boss, Iono counts, and then less of a Professor Sada's presence. You could do that, because you could play 3 Sada, 2 research, for example, instead of 4 Sada, 1 research, or 3 Sada, 2 Iono, whatever you want. if you do try and build this list for post-rotation, let me know in the comments down below. I'm very curious to see what you guys are able to cook up. And like the video, I'm posting multiple Pokemon trading card game videos every single week here in the Hitmonchan channel, so subscribe to the channel. That'll help me out greatly as well. Trying to hit 10K by the end of the year, and actually I think we're getting there really, we're grinding really hard, and we're getting there pretty good. So I'm really proud of us. I'm proud of you and thankful for you for watching my videos. And with all said and done, thank you so much for watching. Leave a comment down below, and until next time, Hitmonchanning out.